Okay, let's unpack this. We're diving deep into a source that promises, well, maybe not a shortcut, but a path to understanding some seriously profound concepts. Arthur Avalon's The Serpent Power. This isn't just any book, right? It's a scholarly expedition into 2 ancient Sanskrit texts on Laya Yoga.
That's right.
Focusing laser-like on Kuṇḍalinī Śakti and the chakras, those energy centers within the body, all seen through the lens of Tantra.
Exactly. And the source itself, this particular copy, it feels like it has history. You see these old loan stamps at Delhi University Library.
Wow.
Yeah, it shows this material has been studied, wrestled with. Our mission here really is to guide you through Avalon's translation, his commentary.
All that the key stuff.
Pull out the most important nuggets, and try to make sense of this complex system. It tackles ideas that are definitely recondite, obscure, but understanding it offers this really surprising view of the human body. Like it's a map of the entire universe.
A map of the universe inside you. That's a powerful starting point. So where does this system even begin its mapping? What are the fundamentals?
Well, it starts with what the source calls the ultimate reality. And this reality is expressed through this primal duality, which is also unity, Śiva and Śakti.
Okay.
Think of Śiva as the static aspect, pure consciousness. Changeless.
Malignous.
Kind of, yeah. And Śakti. She's the dynamic aspect, the creative power, the mother of the universe.
So like consciousness and energy, is that a fair way to put it?
It's a very good way. Inseparable, the source says, like fire and its power to burn. You can't really have one without the other.
Okay.
Śiva is the consciousness that observes. Śakti is the power that acts, that becomes. They're 2 sides of the same coin. Ultimate being, consciousness, bliss.
And from this pair, everything else comes into being.
Yeah.
How does the source describe that process, the manifestation?
That's where Maya, or sometimes called Prakriti, comes in. This is the cosmic energy. It's Śakti in her creative mode.
Right.
She's described as the power that veils or limits that pure consciousness, makes it appear as this world of separate forms, names, shapes, mind, matter.
So the universe isn't something created separately, but more like an unfolding.
Exactly. It's seen as a constant dance. Evolution from this primordial power and then dissolution back into it.
Like the universe breathing in and out, that kind of idea.
Something like that, yeah. And the stages of this breath, you could say, the principles that emerge as Prakriti unfolds, those are called the Tattvas.
Tattvas. Okay.
The tradition this source uses relies on 36 Tattvas. They map the whole descent from pure consciousness down through mind, senses, right into the material elements. It's a really detailed classification of reality.
Wow, 36. And within that unfolding, there are these fundamental qualities you mentioned.
Right, the gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas. These are qualities inherent in Prakriti.
Okay.
Sattva is about clarity, harmony, light. Rajas is activity, passion, movement. And tamas is inertia, darkness, obstruction.
And these are always interacting.
Constantly. The universe and everything in it, including our own minds, our perceptions, it's all seen as a play of these 3 qualities mixing in different proportions, influencing how things appear, how we experience them.
Okay, so we've got the ultimate reality, the creative power, the principles of manifestation, the tattvas, and the qualities, the gunas, shaping it all. Now, how does the human being fit into this cosmic picture? The source talks about different layers of the body.
It does, yeah. This system sees us as having multiple layers, or bodies, not just the physical one we see. There's the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body.
What's the difference? What defines each one?
So the gross body, the stula sharira, that's made of the gross elements, earth, water, fire, air, ether, basically the physical stuff.
Yeah.
Tangible.
Right.
The subtle body, or sukkhama sharira, that's composed of the mind, senses both the ones for knowing, like sight, and the ones for action, like walking, and the subtle elements, the tanmatras, which are linked to sensation.
So that's where thoughts and feelings happen.
Exactly. It's the vehicle for thought, feeling, subtle perception. And then the causal body, the Karan Sharia, is the most subtle. It holds the seeds, the blueprints, latent impressions, desires, the stuff that gives rise to the other 2 bodies.
And these bodies, they line up with states of consciousness we all experience, don't they? Waking, dreaming.
Precisely. The gross body is primarily active in the waking state, Chakra, where we interact with the external world.
Makes sense.
The subtle body corresponds to the dreaming state, Svapna, experiencing those internal landscapes. And the causal body is linked to dreamless sleep, Sushupti, a state of potentiality, almost pure awareness, but without objects.
And then there's a 4th state.
Yes, Turiya, That's the goal, really, of the yoga practice described here, to transcend these three relative states and reach turiya, pure, objectless consciousness, unconditioned awareness.
This view of matter, too, it sounds really different from how, Western science often talks about it. It's not inert stuff, is it?
No, definitely not. That's a key distinction. Matter isn't dead substance in this view. It's seen as vibration, spanda. It's a form that the primordial power, Prakriti Śakti, takes on.
So even a rock has energy?
Fundamentally, yes. The elements themselves, earth, water, fire, air, ether, the Buddhas, they aren't just chemical substances. They're principles, qualities derived from even subtler elements, the tanmatras.
How so?
Well, earth, for example, embodies the principle of cohesion, solidity, and it's linked to the sense of smell. Fire embodies expansion, transformation linked to sight. So matter, at every level, is power manifesting in a specific way.
Fascinating. And within this layered being, with its vibrant matter, there are pathways for this power, this energy to move. The Source talks about Nāḍīs.
Absolutely crucial. The Nāḍīs are channels, currents in the subtle body. Think of them like subtle nerve pathways, but not physical nerves.
Okay.
The most important is the central channel, Sushumna. It's often envisioned running along the spinal column, the Merudanda.
And there are others.
Flanking it are Ida and Pingala. These are described as major subtle channels, often associated with lunar and solar energies, coolness and heat, feminine and masculine principles. They're sometimes linked symbolically to the sympathetic nervous system, but the source is pretty clear. These are primarily subtle Nāḍīs.
Subtle channels for subtle energy. And tied intimately to this whole system channels, energy is sound. Shabda.
Shabda, yes. Incredibly significant. And again, it's not just the noise we hear. The Source describes 4 levels of Shabda, showing how the ultimate unmanifest consciousness differentiates all the way down into spoken word.
4 levels.
Yeah. It starts with Parashabda. That's the highest unmanifest sound, located, it says, in the lowest center, Muladhara with Kuṇḍalinī. Then comes Pashanti, which is like the first stirring of idea, a visual or mental form of sound associated with the navel center.
Okay.
Then Matama, which is subtle mental sound, thought sound, associated with the heart center. It's sound before it's articulated. And finally, Vaikari, that's the audible speech produced by the vocal cords coming out of the mouth.
Wow, so speech itself is just the very tip of the iceberg.
Exactly. The grossest manifestation of a much deeper reality of vibration.
And mantras. They work with this principle then.
Absolutely. Mantras are seen as powerful forms of Shabda, very specific sound vibrations. The Source even says the letters of the Sanskrit alphabet, the Varna, are distributed on the petals of the chakras, representing different aspects of cosmic energy.
Letters on the petals?
Yeah. And then there are bija mantras, seed syllables like lamb for earth or ram for fire. These are potent sounds tied directly to the tattva, the element or principle of a specific center.
So reciting a mantra isn't just saying words.
No, not at all. It's invoking a specific form of power. Mantra Śakti, the power inherent in the sound. It's also connecting with the Devata, the deity associated with that sound or center. And the Source interestingly describes this deity as ultimately a form of the practitioner's own consciousness.
So it's a way to work directly with these subtle energies using sound as the key.
Precisely. A very direct way.
This whole system feels like it's weaving everything together. Consciousness, energy, the body, sound. And the points where these threads really converge seem to be these famous 6 centers, the lotuses, the chakras.
Yes, the chakras are absolutely central to this map. The Chakra Nirupana text translates as description of the 6 centers. The Source describes them as vortices, you could say. Centers within that main channel, Sushumna.
Vortices, like whirlpools of energy.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Points where forces are organized, concentrated, they receive and radiate different qualities of power. And the Source discusses this a bit. Are they physical nerve plexuses or are they subtle?
And what's the conclusion there?
It leans heavily towards them being primarily subtle centers within Sushumna, though they might have correlations or influence points in the physical body, like the plexuses. But their main reality is in the subtle realm.
Okay, let's look at what this Source tells us about them, moving up from the base, starting with the Muladhara.
Right, the root support, Muladhara. Located at the base of the spine near the perineum. It's deeply connected to the earth element. Think grounding, stability, our connection to physical existence, basic survival instincts.
And this is where Kuṇḍalinī waits.
Yes, this is where that coiled energy, Kuṇḍalinī Śakti, resides dormant like a sleeping serpent waiting to be awakened. Its shape is described as a square, representing earth. Color yellow. The presiding deity is Brahma, the creator aspect. It's the foundation.
Then above that?
Above that is Svadhisthana, located in the sacral region above the genitals. Its element is water. So think fluidity, movement, sensation, emotion, pleasure, taste.
Okay.
Its shape is a crescent moon, symbolizing water. Color white. Presiding deity is Vishnu, the sustainer. This center is about flow, connection, creativity, but also where, attachments and desires can get lodged.
Then we move up to Manipura, the city of jewels, the navel center.
Manipura, yes. Located in the spinal center corresponding to the navel region. Its element is fire. This is the powerhouse. Seat of personal power, digestion, both physical and mental or energetic transformation, willpower.
Fire, so energy drive.
Exactly. Its shape is a downward pointing triangle, like a flame, color red. The deity here is Rudra, an aspect of Shiva associated with transformation and destruction of the old. It's about energy distribution and assertion.
Okay, next is the Anahata, the heart center.
Anahata, the unstruck sound. Located in the spinal center behind the heart, its element is air. This is the center of balance, love, compassion, connection. Air signifies movement, pervasiveness, touch. Its shape is a six-pointed star, two overlapping triangles, symbolizing the union of the upward Shiva and downward Śakti moving energies, or spirit and matter. Color, smoky or green. Deity is Isha, another aspect of Shiva. It's seen as the bridge between the lower, more instinctual centers and the higher, more spiritual ones.
Moving up again to the throat, Vishuddha.
Vishuddha, the pure place. Located in the spinal center at the throat region. Associated with the ether element, Akasha, space. This element allows for vibration, so the center is linked strongly to communication, expression, hearing, and speech. Also purification.
So speaking your truth.
That kind of thing, yes. And also higher discernment. Its shape is a circle, representing space or fullness. Color white or smoky purple. Deity is Sadashiva, the eternally benevolent aspect, often depicted with 5 faces.
And then the sixth main one, Ajna, between the eyebrows.
The Ajna chakra, often called the third eye, located in the center of the head, experienced between the eyebrows. The source primarily links this one to manas, the mind faculty, our capacity for thought, memory, imagination. It acts as a command center.
Command center.
Yeah, from here, awareness can direct the energies below. It's seen as the subtle point from which the other centers can be perceived or controlled. It's described as having just 2 petals, often said to represent the duality of mind like subject-object or Idapangala that needs to be unified here. It's crucial for focus, intuition, before moving higher.
And above all these 6, the ultimate destination mentioned is the Sahasrara.
The Sahasrara, yes. Located at or above the crown of the head. Depicted as a 1,000-petaled lotus radiating light. This isn't really a chakra in the same series as the lower 6. It's considered the supreme abode, the culmination.
The goal.
The goal. It's where the final union of Shiva and Śakti, consciousness and power, occurs. It represents pure consciousness, beyond all duality, all form, all tattvas, liberation.
So the entire yoga practice described in the source, this Laya Yoga, it's all about working with this system, this map.
Absolutely. That's the core process. Rousing Kuṇḍalinī Śakti, that latent cosmic power coiled in Muladhara.
Waking the serpent.
Waking the serpent, yes.
Yeah.
And the practice involves consciously directing her energy upwards through the central channel Sushumna, sequentially piercing or awakening each chakra as she ascends.
And Laya means dissolution.
Yes. Laya Yoga means the yoga of dissolution. It signifies the process where the individual consciousness, carried upwards by Kuṇḍalinī, dissolves the limitations of each center, ultimately merging or dissolving into the supreme consciousness, Shiva, and the Sahasrara.
What does the source say is the ultimate purpose of this pretty intense-sounding process?
The ultimate goal is Kaivalya Mukti, liberation, the realization of pure, unlimited consciousness, the state of Shiva, essentially. Becoming one with that ultimate reality.
Is that it, or are there other aspects?
Well, the source also discusses the potential attainment of siddhis, or supernatural powers along the way. Things like clairvoyance or control over elements. These are seen as attributes of Ishvara, the Lord, that consciousness realizes as it expands.
But are they the main goal?
No, the source is quite clear. They are secondary. They can even be distractions. The primary aim is always the ultimate union, the liberation.
And is this practice? Well, is it for just anyone? Does the source mention who should attempt this? Qualifications.
It does set a pretty high bar, actually. A practitioner, a sadhaka, needs certain qualities. Intelligence, control over the senses, practicing nonviolence, ahimsa, being pure in thought and action, having strong faith in Brahman, the ultimate reality.
So discipline is key.
Huge. And importantly, being a non-dualist understanding, at least intellectually, that the individual soul isn't ultimately separate from the Supreme. It's definitely presented as a path requiring significant inner preparation and understanding.
There's also a specific warning in the source, isn't there, about getting it wrong?
Yes, and it's a really important point Avalon includes. The source explicitly warns against focusing solely on the lower centers, especially the Muladhara or Svadhisthana, in a misguided way.
Misguided how?
Trying to use the energy for worldly power or sensual gratification, things termed like phallic sorcery or just misdirected efforts. The source states very clearly, that does not lead to liberation. It actually binds you further to worldly experience.
So it's dangerous if misused.
Potentially, yes. True Laya Yoga, it emphasizes, is always directed upwards, towards the highest center, the Sahasrara, aiming for that superworldly bliss and ultimate union. The intention and the direction of the energy are absolutely paramount.
Okay, so bringing all these pieces together, we have this fundamental energy, Śiva and Śakti, the layers of our being, gross, subtle, causal, these subtle channels, the Nāḍīs, the incredible power of sound, shabda, and mantra, and this detailed map of energy centers, the chakras. What does this whole system as laid out by Avalon from these texts ultimately offer us? What's the takeaway?
Well, I think what's truly insightful, maybe unique, is how it provides this completely integrated system. It links the highest, most abstract philosophical concepts, consciousness, ultimate reality, power directly to the lived experience of the human body.
Right, it's not just theory.
No, the chakras aren't just abstract symbols floating somewhere. They're presented as actual centers of force, centers of consciousness within the subtle body, points where different principles, the tattvas, the element-specific energies are concentrated.
So it offers a path.
It offers a practical path, yes, though a very complex and demanding one, for personal transformation, for potentially realizing one's fullest potential by working directly with these internal energies. It's a dense framework, for sure. And even the source itself, Avalon's commentary, points out different interpretations, debates within the tradition itself, which shows its living complexity.
It's certainly a comprehensive and incredibly intricate view of what it means to be human and the potential that might be held within us. We've journeyed from those foundational principles, Śiva and Śakti, through the layers of the body, the subtle channels, mapped the energy centers right up to the Sahasrara, all through the lens of Arthur Avalon's The Serpent Power.
It's a profound deep dive, looking at the microcosm of the body as truly reflecting the macrocosm of the universe.
It really is. So drawing on all this, here's something maybe for you to sit with. If this tradition is right, or even just directionally accurate, if the body does hold within it this detailed map of consciousness and cosmic energy, linking everything from, the feeling of the ground beneath your feet to the most expansive states of awareness, what does that suggest about the nature of your own inner landscape? And how might just acknowledging that possibility, the potential map inside, change how you perceive the connection between your physical experience day to day, your mental state, and maybe even your potential for profound transformation?